All right. Welcome to the Rebecca Conference 2020. This is session 3, so you should be viewing this on Wednesday, November 18th. I have a panel of young ladies here with me as we're going to talk today a little bit about what the challenges are that face youth and young women in particular. And so I have Angie and Fiona and Shayla and Izzy. And I would like to have them tell you how old they are, just so you can get an idea of the age of girls that we're talking to. So, Izzy, how old are you?
I am 15. I'm a sophomore in high school.
Okay. And Shayla, how old are you?
I'm 17.
You are? My goodness. You guys are growing up. Fiona, how old are you?
I'm 17 and I'm a senior.
Yay! And Angie, how old are you?
I'm 16 and I'm a sophomore.
And I am not sharing my age. So like I said, we're going to talk about challenges that face young women. And I explained to the girls ahead of time that it isn't necessarily just things that face young women, because there are things that are common to teenagers and young people in general as they're growing up. But because it is a women's conference and because we have 4 young ladies, we have the perspective will come from them. And so it will kind of naturally be how they've experienced certain challenges. And that's what we want. So some things that could be common to anyone, but we'll get it from their perspective. So the girls said that they had some thoughts right away about some of the challenges that they face. And so Shayla is going to give us a topic to start with.
So the first thing that I thought of when I heard about the topic that we were going to be discussing was the idea of the effect that media is having on young women at this time. With the different news sources and different apps that are becoming really popular, different influencers are popping up all over the place, and they are specifically tailored to young women in this generation. And I've been noticing a trend happening after these influencers put out their content and things like that the young women specifically today have changed themselves in some way to fit that influencer's role and to be more like them. I've seen it even like in things like clothes or things like interests. Like if you don't have this specific interest, like you're not necessarily cool, or you're not in with the times or what's happening in the media. For example, a couple months ago when I was at school, a couple students and I were talking before class and everything, and they were saying how much they loved their new shoes, and they were these white, they looked very nice shoes, and I looked down at my own shoes and looked at theirs, and immediately I felt ostracized because I did not have those cool new hip shoes that's going all over the media and being everywhere. I'm someone who doesn't have that type of thing, and I see that these people have changed their style and their interest and attitude because they see what other people are doing. So I think one of the challenges that young women face is that they feel like they always need to be changing. They never get to be themselves.
So important. What a great place to start. So, others, how have you experienced this media influencing of your life?
Well, I can personally attest to this. I think, honestly, more than the other people here, I'm genuinely have been affected by social media. I do try to stay up with the trends and with the times and with what's going on. And you have to make sure that while it is cool to see, like fashion is a cool thing. If you see new things that are trending and it'll bring you joy to try out those new trends, that's awesome. But you have to make sure that you're not doing anything that's against who you are and what you're comfortable with and like your boundaries with yourself. And also you have to not place your worth in what you look like, especially in what you look like compared to these influencers, because they're just people who look a certain way. They're not famous because of how they dress or what they do. You just have to be yourself. And I just really think, I feel like I sound like a hypocrite because genuinely I am very up with social media and I use it a lot. And I just feel like I see it everywhere though. Like I know what Shayla's talking about. There are these very popular white shoes that all the girls have right now. And everyone has them. So when I wear shoes that aren't like that to school, I look around and I'm like, I kind of want those shoes. And it makes me feel like I'm not like them, which is a dumb thing because they're shoes. But it really just shows how little it takes to make someone feel like ostracized and not like other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Others. Go ahead, Ange.
I noticed that like looking at other people's life through social media, it's like put it down on me. Like I'm like I don't have this crazy story that all these other people have. But then I got to remember that there's like highlights of their life, not like the sole purpose or like what they're actually feeling, but just like a generic brand of them. So it's hard for me to go on and just look at other people's life and like kind of reflect on my own because you don't want to do that. So it's like hard.
Like you're comparing to their best day, but they're not showing you necessarily the worst part or, yeah.
Social media is a highlight reel completely. It's not real life. It's not all the bad moments. It's mostly the good things that they want to highlight. If you take a picture and you don't look good, you take another one. It's not like, it's just, you get the perfect version of yourself that you want to put into the world on social media, which it's not realistic.
Right. All right, Fiona, how about you?
Excuse me. Since I am homeschooled, I have tried to, kind of fit into the mold of a public school kid for a while. I'd say probably ever since, I was like 13 and I kind of, became like self-aware, like not like a child anymore. But over quarantine, over since like March, I've just kind of realized that like I'm not like that. I'm different, and I don't fit into that box. So I've just kind of, realized that I'm not like that, and I've just kind of, moved on from that.
So do all of you think that there is anxiety around this area of social media?
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a personal story, actually.
Okay.
I posted something on social media, and it was like a post of me and these cute pictures. I took it at park with my friends, and I liked them and I posted them. But recently, I took them down because I thought I looked fat in them. Like I didn't like. I thought I looked fine. I wasn't like, oh, I'm so fat, I'm so ugly. I was like, oh, they're just. I don't want people their first impression of me when they go to my social media to be, oh, like I don't look very good in that picture. So I just archived them so they're not really on my feed anymore. So that isn't what people see. And that's how tailored your social media can be. Like if that's not what I wanted people to see, I just took it down. And that's really what you can do.
So you're constantly thinking about how to hone what is out there about yourself.
And right after I posted that, I remember I was very anxious and I was like, what if like people see it and think that I'm like not attractive or think that I'm not cool or not pretty? And I was like genuinely very worried that that was going to affect someone, which I know I don't do that. If I see a picture of someone, I'm not going to judge them. So I don't know why I thought other people would judge me, but it made me genuinely nervous. And I'm like, this is just a picture. I should not be this worried. But it's true. It happens a lot.
Shayla.
To jump off of Izzy's story, to take a different look at media, I also think that the influencers that are out there today, at least at the very surface level and in the headlines, because I know there's other ones, are mostly, at least influencers tailored to women, are mostly models or actresses.
She's got so much to say. I don't hear her. Does anybody else? I think we lost your audio. Hang on. She's lagging because she can't hear us. Touch good stuff. We can't hear you temporarily.
They are mostly very like traditionally attractive people, and it's going to make you feel like, do all people look like that? I'm never going to be that beautiful. Being in the industry, I know, is like it's very hard, and they pick the perfect people because they want you to see it, and you're going to end up feeling that way because you don't look like those people. But you're not supposed to look like those people. That is photoshopped. That is edited. Those people spend their entire lives trying to look perfect, and perfect is not real. It doesn't exist. You just got to be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Can we hear Shayla?
Can you hear me?
Yay!
I can't see your lips moving though. That's concerning.
Oh no.
No,
Okay.
there we go. All right.
Hello?
You were on a roll. Go for it.
Okay, so sorry about that.
Right.
I think I was saying before, the influencers that are most prominent to young women today are mostly actresses or models. They're all over headlines and everything like that. And to me, it's like seeing a line being drawn into, oh, these people are successful. Success must come from beauty, must come from your physical appearance. And from someone who is a little older and is able to see that that's not true. Everyone is beautiful and you have so much more potential, and that's not what success has to be. But there's so many young girls out there who don't see that, and who the only thing that they see is that, oh, this person is beautiful. They have all these traits. They're a model, they're an actress. They look pretty on the outside, and that's what makes them successful. So that must be where success comes from. And that's not true. There's so many other successful women out there who I think are so underrepresented in media and news and everything like that, who have done wonderful things. And I think it would be so good for young women to see those other people. I'm someone who has been to multiple STEM camps or IT camps learning about science and math, and I think that's wonderful. I think that young women, if they're interested in that kind of thing, to go for it. And I think that there's more women out there who are interested but don't think it's an option for them because they don't see that being successful, because that's all they see is that image of the perfect beauty, and they have to fit that standard.
I'm taking a note about something that you said that we'll come back to, but anybody else want to talk about that, like the anxiety aspect of social media, or just have any other comments to add on the social media topic, and then I'll kind of move us forward.
Just kind of like revisit what Shayla was saying about the young girls, that like it makes me kind of scared for them, because like not everybody fits into that, you know, like tall, skinny girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, and it makes me scared for the younger girls that, you know, they're going to try to be like that. And then that can, you know, lead into depression and anxiety, and that the media is creating these like long-term psychological effects on them.
That's very true. We don't even yet know, I think, what the long-term effects will be of some of the influences of all of this. We do know, I mean, I think we see a lot more anxiety and depression than we did when I was in high school. Maybe just because we're talking about it more, we're more aware, we're trying to help, but also I think there's just more pressure on you to be someone that you're not. I mean, I was in the generation of like magazines in the grocery store that had teenagers on the front that we would go and like, I had to buy one, take it home and look through and see all of the latest trends and what the teenagers were wearing and how beautiful they were, but it wasn't in my pocket all day long. So it was a different, you could like put your magazine away or not have one, or, turn your TV off. It wasn't literally as constant as it is for you guys. And it concerns me for your whole generation and the younger girls that don't understand how to kind of turn their minds away from that. Angie, what else?
Well, I know that, like, for me personally, that I had very close friends, and then they decided that they wanted to change themselves so much that they kind of like broke off friendship in a way. I also had like one of my very, very close friends. She turned to social media and she changed how beautiful she was and like her just like pure happiness, and then she just kind of flipped it where like she just had so much anxiety where she wanted to fit in but she couldn't fit in. And so like she would dress like not modest and didn't like it at all, but she still tried to fit in, and the more that she tried to fit in, the further away from reality she got.
So it's hard for you guys even just to see how it affects other people. I mean, we have a fairly level-headed panel here, I think, of girls that are you're aware of how social media affects you and you're trying to combat it, even though, like Izzy says, she embraces some of the trends and it's fun, but she understands she's not going to change who she is to be those things. She might enjoy experiencing some of it, but she's not going to become somebody different. So there's consciousness, but I think that's not true for everyone. Izzy, what did you just say?
I was gonna say, to end like this kind of segment on a positive note, I do think that there is a generation of like women and people like the people here that are doing such great things on the internet right now, teaching women to love their bodies, to love themselves, to love whatever they look like, and that is definitely making a very positive influence, because now there are many influencers that I see who are plus size, who have different skin colors and hair colors and interests. And I love that that is happening, because while a lot of the social media can be very harmful, there are so many people out there who are trying to make it a more positive place where people can feel like the version of themselves can be successful and beautiful and perfect the way they are, which is really cool.
I like that. I like that a lot.
For sure.
Shayla said something about like science and technology and just having the feeling that it's not for you because you're a girl. Are there things that are there challenges that you've had that you feel like you're underestimated or it's not for you because you're female? So yes, story, Izzy.
Okay, so in school, I took a class called Residential DIY, and it was a super cool class. We learned how to build basically like a wall from the ground up. So we build the framing with the wooden panels, and we added insulation and walls and painted, and we patched up holes. And it was a very cool class, and I love being able to learn all of those things, because when I'm older and I have a home of my own, I will know how to do those things, and I'll be able to do things for myself. But a situation that I did experience was, the class was majority just boys, which was awesome. Boys are super fun to talk to, so it was chill. But I was in a group with like 4 boys and 1 other girl, and the 1 other girl and I, we would kind of just sit back, and we would kind of just sit back because whenever we would try to help, all the positions were already filled by the guys, and I would ask, I'd be like, okay, like what should I do? What should I help with? And they genuinely be like, just like, don't do anything. Like, just like, you can just like go over there. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'd start to do things and they tell me I was doing it wrong. They'd be like, no, Izzy, you're painting it wrong. You're doing this wrong. I don't think that's what the teacher said. And I was like, oh, okay. So then there was an example where we all had to individually patch holes in a wall. The teacher made a hole for each one of us, and we all patched up our holes individually. And the teacher came over and he saw the hole that I had patched up, and he was like, whose is this? This is amazing. This is like perfect. And I was like, oh, that's mine. And that was right after all the guys had told me that I did it wrong and it didn't look good. The teacher came over and was like, that hole looks amazing. And he looked at the other guys' holes and he went, you guys really need to work on that. Those don't look very good. And I was just sitting there like, well, I actually was doing it correctly. But just because I was a girl, people literally thought that I didn't know how to do this. Someone literally told me, they said, Izzy, I think you picked the wrong class. I was like, no, I didn't pick the wrong class. I'm doing just fine. But yeah, I never experienced such like direct kind of sexism in a way, but because like, I don't know, no one had ever really like told me I couldn't do something. But when I got in there, it was really just direct, like, you're a girl, you can't do it. And I was like, oh, it was very weird to experience, but it showed me that I can do those things, because, and I can use the fact that I am a girl to be better at those things. I have a very steady mind. Sometimes I'm good at organizing things and like taking notes. So I remembered everything he said, and I remembered all the steps, and I taught myself tips and tricks, and that's how I learned, and that's how I achieved what I wanted to achieve. Sorry, that was a long story, but I thought it was important to share.
No, it fits the topic very well. Others, have you experienced anything similar along the same lines?
I have not, but I am going into a science-related field. I'm going to be a nurse. So, but I think that if I was going to be, a doctor or something other than that, especially like a doctor, like somewhere beyond a physician, like a doctor with a specialty, like a cardiologist maybe, that I think that I would be met with I would butt heads with some people on the way up there, because that's, I mean, if you think about it, doctors are predominantly male. And so like a female doctor in a big position like that, handling big things like that, is just, it was unheard of for a long time. And I think that element is still, it still exists, kind of.
We probably don't name it as much as we should. I've actually heard someone say to a male nurse, well, how come you're just a nurse? As if it's disappointing that you're not a doctor.
Not a lower rank of job at all. It's just a different job.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Any other good examples? Stories? Yeah, Shayla.
So I apologize if I cut out. I cut out a little bit in the past discussions, but I have a similar story. I went to a welding camp a couple years ago, and I was, if not the only, one of the only girls in that camp. And as someone who is probably not going to go into welding just because it wasn't for me, I still wanted to go into. So definitely there is the more sexism aspect, as Izzy was saying before, but I also think the idea that it should become more mainstream for women to have the ability to have that interest in STEM and IT kind of jobs or occupations. I think they should have more representation in that, because again, it's like you only see these roles for women he thinks that women should be in. But I think it would be so beneficial to have more representation for the trades and for other jobs like that, for math and science, being a doctor in the medical field, as Fiona was saying. I think that's really important, because if there was more representation and more influencers who have that job, who are women, or more people in the headlines of media who have made groundbreaking things instead of these other actresses, which I'm not trying to belittle them at all. I'm just saying more equal variety representation could be so beneficial, that I could have been with 10 other girls in that camp and not just maybe one or two. That would have been so cool to be able to connect like that with other young girls.
Absolutely. You bet. Angie, anything to add on this topic?
Well, I've definitely experienced like old-fashioned kind of way where girls can't hold the doors for men or can't lift anything when like men are around. Like I remember being in RE and I was the only girl and there was like 20 other men, and it was a handle, but it was so weird because everyone would think differently than me, and I couldn't be a blend in with them because I was the only girl. So like when we played games, they're like, Angie, you have to go first. Or we would like grab materials. It would always be, you have to go first. It wasn't like a shared thing where we all got to take turns. It was always on me, so I was freaking out.
Right.
And like I was working with my dad on my grandma's house, and there was people coming over and trying to help, and I wasn't allowed to do certain things. They kind of pushed me in the corner because I was considered weak to a lot of them. And so having to put like your foot and stand out like, no, I can do this and I can help out.
Right.
Yeah. I remember like when we were planting trees at the parsonage a couple of weeks ago, and like I kind of got pushed to the wayside, a little bit because there was about like, I don't know, like 15 guys there.
Right.
Pushed to the wayside, and then I just grabbed a shovel and I walked over to like a little circle on the ground and I started digging a hole because I can do that,
Right.
It was kind of empowering to just go over there and be like, yeah, I can do what all these men are doing.
And unfortunately, the burden is on you as a woman, me, to just put ourselves where we know we can succeed and to show our success. It's not like they're inviting you to come and do the things that they think you shouldn't do. So sometimes we have to put ourselves out there in a firm but gentle way, I think. Because I think, well, anyway, we have maybe 6 minutes left. So a couple more comments on this, and then I have one more thing I want to ask you. Shayla, you have something?
Yeah, just really quick. Fiona's story reminded me, there's also been times at school, like in the past years, in classes when I will be doing like a math problem or working on English or doing some worksheet or anything like that, and either some person at my table or a young man sitting next to me or something like that, he'll look over and be like, "Oh wow, like you're really good at this," or "Oh wow, like I didn't know that you could do this," and he kind of, in a tone that was assuming that I wouldn't have been able to do it, kind of like he was surprised that I could do this certain thing or have success in this certain class, and I would just kind of smile and give a thumbs up. But I think that like belittling tone, that there's always that first assumption.
I lost her voice. So close.
Should I share my short story while we get her back?
Yes, share your short story when we get her back.
Another thing that kind of has to do with that one class, but it's just genuinely in my brain, I had it in my mind that I'm probably not going to be very good at this. And I remember I would go do it and I'd try and I'd hammer something and I'd be good at it. And I was genuinely shocked that I had the ability to do that, because in my mind it was, oh, I'm Izzy, I'm not going to be good at doing that. And I was. And then recently I had the opportunity to help someone work on a stage for production, and I had to use a drill, a mechanical screwdriver, and I knew how to do it because of the class I was in. And I was like, this is me putting my skills to use, because I'll be presented with opportunities to do this, because people underestimate me, but I can show them that I do know how to do it. And it's really cool. But I agree with Fiona, the best feeling is when they're like, oh, you can't do it. And you're like, no, actually I can. And then you show them that you can do it. And it just feels great. But
just because you're not going to go into building and Shayla's not going to be a welder doesn't mean that these aren't skills that you should have and have the right to learn and know how to do yourself. So you can do those things for yourself. Shayla, you cut out a little bit at the end. We got all the way up to, I had it and I lost it. Anyway, I think we got most of what you were saying. But what was the little last part? No, you're good? All right.
Yeah, I think you got it.
I think we got most of it. So the very last few minutes here, I just want to touch on, because this is what we're going to talk about in our evening session, how do you think that older women can help your generation, teenagers, as they're growing up with some of these challenges? If you could tell us what we can do to make it easier or to help you in some way, is there something that comes to mind that you would want to communicate to us that we could do? Izzy? And then Angie?
I was just going to say something that my parents have done a great job of. I know you don't really mean like your parents, or you just mean like older women in general. I believe that some people believe that like when you think, oh, I'm going to have a kid and they're going to play a sport, or they're going to dress like this, and they're going to look like this, and they're going to do this. And I think that something that has helped me become I don't have a very high self-esteem is the fact that when I told my parents I'm not really interested in sports, they completely supported me in what I really wanted to do, which was theater. And because they have supported me so much and believed in me so much in that, it has helped me realize that that is something that's not irregular. Because if they said, oh no, really, just keep trying sports, I promise you'll like it, they just knew this isn't her thing. I'm not going to make her do it. And it really helped me realize that like you have to support young women in the things that they're passionate about, because even if you think it's silly, or even if you think that you'd rather them be passionate about something that you think is quote unquote cooler, or but it's just those feeling the support from older people, from your peers, and especially your older peers, just really helps you feel more comfortable in your own skin with what you're doing. Because with all the support my parents have given me in theater, it really just makes me feel like good about my decision to do it, and makes me feel like I am successful, because when they come to my shows and clap for me and tell me how good I was, it makes me feel like I just won a game, like I'm successful, I'm doing something good, that is going to help me be successful in the future, which is super cool. But yeah, like overall, just supporting other women with their decisions and their choices, positive choices, obviously. Yeah, but that's really important.
Good idea. Angie, I think you had your hand up next.
Mine was more like, not to say like discipline, but maybe like more boundaries on like to set aside things and kind of like reflect on yourself and go through like what you could have done better and what you think you did good, but also go like trying to like steer away from social media and maybe like every once in a while turn your phone off for a day and put it in like a box and don't look at it, and kind of like reconnect with yourself and be more like prominent, like not prominent, but like more, what's the word?
Present.
Thank you. Yeah, be more present in
the real world.
Yeah, that's the words. Wow, took the words right out of my mouth.
Good job. Fiona and Shayla.
I agree a lot with what was said, with like what Izzy said and what Angie said, and just like, I don't know, kind of support us and, be patient with us because we're learning.
We don't have the answers either, I promise. But sometimes I think we can forget how hard it was to try to form ourselves into who we were going to be, because now we're already kind of there. So it's good for us to be reminded to do that. Shayla, anything else?
I definitely agree with everything that's been said too. I mean, it's really important, like Izzy said, to let young women have their passions and things, and let them discover new things, new occupations, new classes, new interests, and just support them. And like Izzy said, it's so important, like that my parents too were always supportive of whatever my interests were, whatever I wanted to do, and they didn't try to steer me in one direction that's like, sports, like Izzy said, or you have to be like really good in academics or anything. I got to explore all different types of things and figure out what I was passionate about. So I think that's really important. Also kind of goes with this, representation is really important too. Like growing up, I went to a lot of different camps and saw a lot of different people. And so the ones that stand out most to me were the ones that I could see that were genuinely themselves and genuinely there because they were passionate.
So close.
I went to a camp with Shayla growing up, actually.
You went to STEM camp.
I did, and it was very cool, and it was awesome because it was a completely girls' camp. And I remember the friends I made there, I still talk to them. I talked to one of my STEM camp friends yesterday, which is really cool because that can really bring people together.
That's fun.
It was like so on it, and she's like, uh-oh, there's somebody else talking. I must have cut out again.
Can you hear me now?
Correct, though. Yes, we can hear you now.
Cool.
Representation was the idea, and seeing people be their authentic selves, so that you know that that's possible for you as well.
Yes, absolutely.
But we are at time, people. 7:47. We did it. Thank you so much, so much. I wasn't sure what to expect, but this has been fantastic, and I think it's really going to be informative and helpful, just to see what you guys had to say. So,
thank you.
Go in peace. Be blessed.
You too. Thanks.